Well, good morning. I want to talk today about the astrology of fall 2023. And before I get started, let me explain that I often take a minimalist approach to astrology. I don't talk about everything that's going on, not everything under the sun. I just try and focus on the highlights, the main points, those things which are probably going to be strongest. And in a nutshell, for fall 2023, I think there's going to be a certain amount of tension or intensity in the air. It's been there for quite a while. We've had it throughout the summer. That's going to continue, but wane a bit as the fall goes on. And I also think there's going to be some ongoing wounding as a result of war and global warming and perhaps other things. Though some will see this, experience this as an opportunity to transcend or to heal. But in addition to the intensity and the ongoing wounding, there are also going to be some things that are coming together rather harmoniously to help us solve our various problems. Okay, so let's see if I can share my screen and then we can get started. And I've just got to make a couple of adjustments here. This will just take a few seconds. And we're ready. So this is fall 2023 for the world. Okay, the first thing I want to notice is this. If we look at the distribution of the outer planets for fall 2023 from Jupiter on, there are no planets in air signs. Everything is in earth, fire, or water signs. And that means we're going to be experiencing reality on a practical level. And we're going to be experiencing a lot of feelings or emotions, some of them expressed internally in an introverted sort of way, others outwardly in an extroverted sort of way. When we get into 2024, there are going to be two very important sign changes from Earth to air. Uh, in late January, we're going to have Pluto moving back into Aquarius, where we'll spend most of the year. It retrogrades back into Capricorn around the beginning of September and goes through the first half of November before going back into Aquarius for the next 20 years. And in late May, we're going to have Jupiter moving from Taurus into Gemini for the rest of the year. And what these movements from Earth to air in 2024 signify is it's going to be a transition from applied thinking to more abstract thinking. We're suddenly going to experience new ideas and creativity. And again, that may help us solve a lot of our problems. Now, this fall, 2023, and particularly right now, we have an awful lot of planets retrograde. We have about 7 planets retrograde here. And when planets are retrograde, the energy is more internalized rather than expressed externally. Aside from the sun and the moon, the only thing that's not going retrograde this fall is going to be Mars. And Mars is action, so actions will continue, but we've got a lot of retrograde planets now, and many continue to be retrograde throughout the fall. And this is creating a sort of inertia. You might feel these days like as you try to get things done, it's like, trying to wade through mud that's knee high or hip high. You can move forward, but it takes greater effort to get these things done. And that is because the energy is internalized so much. We do have a certain amount of action represented by Mars that is moving forward unimpeded, but mentally, with respect to all these other planetary drives, it's harder to express them outwardly, and that is what is creating, perhaps for many, this feeling of inertia or difficulty in getting off square one right now. Now, for this fall, I mainly just want to look at the fall equinox chart, two eclipses, and then the winter solstice chart at the end. So we'll begin with the fall equinox. It says 9/23 here, but in Scottsdale, it's going to be September 22nd, 2023 in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I live. And one of the main things going on at the fall equinox period, which intensifies things a bit, is we have Mars in a strong opposition to Chiron. This suggests some, for the most part, some additional wounding going on. Mars is in Libra, which represents relations with others. It doesn't function that well in Libra because Mars is more aggressive. Mars rules Aries that Chiron is in. And with Chiron in Aries, we might expect the wounding to be primarily through war, through accidents, and through consequences of global warming, though there might be some other things involved. So, this starts a period where we can expect a little bit more wounding in the world. We also have Pluto still square the lunar nodes. It's been like that throughout most of the summer. It's somewhat of a waxing square in that Pluto is moving retrograde from 27 degrees back toward 25 degrees, which would make an exact square at this point. Of course, the lunar nodes, most of the time, they also tend to move retrograde, but it frequently changes from retrograde to direct. So it's sort of a matter of, which one's moving faster here. They both are moving fairly slowly right now. But I like to think of Pluto as kind of applying to the position of the nodes right now, which can intensify things a bit. The lunar nodal axis simply adds intensity to things. Pluto in Capricorn is power for individuals, so that's dictators, autocratic individuals, and so forth. So that's, I think, creating a bit of tension in the world right now. But we also have Uranus, sextile Neptune, and both making a semisextile to Chiron. That's this little triangle right here. And the sextile shows that Uranus and Neptune, this is higher creativity. And in Taurus, that's often applied to resources and also financial things. Neptune is our compassion, our spirituality, functioning the way it should in Pisces. It erases boundaries between things. But these two drives are functioning together fairly well. They are having an impact on Chiron through the semisextile. And the semisextile, it's an aspect of adjustment and change. Both the semisextile and the quincunx, it means the drives, they're not diametrically opposed or in great tension to one another, but adjustments are required. And so that promotes change. So I think right now, those who respond to these outer planets and the creativity and of Uranus and the compassion of Neptune, they're trying to find solutions to things like the war in Ukraine and the impact of global warming. Okay. Now, what else do we have? Well, we have another triangle involving Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. That is right here. Okay, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. The trine from Uranus to Pluto is not all that strong, but the sextiles are stronger, and that is going to kind of help pull things together. And again, this is higher thought, more evolved drives working together harmoniously, our drive for creativity, compassion, spirituality, and our drive for transformation. They're working together well now. So this will help people who respond to these more advanced drives. This will help those people find solutions to the world's problems. And lastly, we have Saturn making a quincunx to the Sun. The Sun is in Libra because this is the fall equinox when the Sun moves into Libra. So this is a focus on relationships. Saturn and Pisces, these are the dreams that we want to make concrete, but it's not entirely smooth process. Again, the quincunx, this means adjustments have to be made, okay? And that brings about some change. So think of it this way. In our relationships with others in the world, we have some dreams of peace. But to make these dreams concrete, there are going to be details that have to be worked out. So I suspect people are working on the Ukraine situation and other situations, and diplomats are trying to hammer out details and find a solution. So overall, this fall equinox chart, it's not entirely negative. There are positive things in it. War and aggression with others, and global warming, and maybe other situations continue to bring about some wounding, but we have people working on the problem and trying to hammer out the details and make the dream of peace a reality. There is still some tension in the air, though, as Pluto makes a bit of a square to the lunar nodes. Okay, the next event we'll look at is going to be a solar eclipse on October 14th, 2023. And let's see what's going on here. Well, the sun and the moon are in Libra, conjunct at 21 degrees Libra, and they're making a pretty good opposition to Chiron in Aries at 17 degrees, 31 minutes Aries. Throughout the fall, we're going to tend to get Chiron stimulated one way or another. So this wounding will be an ongoing problem. But remember also that the real Chiron drive, its real impetus, is toward transcendence. And the best expression of Chiron in Aries is the transcendence and spiritual dignity and worth of the individual, finding your own spiritual path. It's only because our hard Saturnian shells have to first be cracked before we can transcend that we get that wounding, which then has to be followed by healing. So, yes, some will transcend and respond to the higher expressions of Chiron during this period. But for the masses, majority will probably experience some wounding. And the eclipse is telling us that this wounding is going to be somewhat ongoing. But some of the previous aspects we saw are still in effect. We still have Pluto square the lunar nodes, for instance, but now Pluto is moving direct, which means this sort of intensity caused by that square to the lunar nodes, it's definitely waning at this point. Also, we still have Uranus making a sextile to Neptune, and both planets making a semisextile to Chiron, semisextiles both to the lunar nodes, to Chiron, and Jupiter is also involved. Wow. This means we still have some drives working together harmoniously, And it's through the harmonious interaction of Uranus and Neptune, and perhaps Jupiter thrown in, that we can attack the problems, the wounding being caused by Chiron. Again, the semi-sextile, it shows that adjustments have to be made. Okay, now we also have Neptune and Uranus making quincunxes to the Sun and Moon in Libra at 21 plus degrees, 8 minutes of Libra. So uh, our creativity and our compassion are trying to work out some solutions. But again, adjustments have to be made. We have to not only solve this problems of war, global warming, etc., but we have to get others on board. We have to work diplomatically with others, Sun, Moon, and Libra, in order to make things happen. Okay, we also still have this triangle, this harmonious triangle involving Uranus making a trine to Pluto and Neptune making a sextile to both of those. So fortunately, those drives involving creativity, spirituality, compassion, and transformation, those higher drives are still working harmoniously. Some are responding to that and working behind the scenes to help us solve all these problems. However, we have Saturn at 0 plus degrees Pisces, making a pretty decent opposition to Venus at 5 plus degrees of Virgo. The Saturn opposite Venus, uh, that is going to create some a bit of frustration. The dreams that we're trying to make concrete, uh, they're going to get bogged down in the details of implementation. And so we're not going to be entirely happy. Okay. Now, the good news is that Venus is making a sextile to Mars, and Mars is making a trine to Saturn. So this is a way to release some of the tension. Uh, we might be able to find the right actions if we focus on them with enough intensity. Hard to say what those actions are, but we might be able to find the right actions to help us get through whatever log jam is represented by this opposition between Saturn and Venus. Okay, let's move on to the next eclipse, which will be a lunar eclipse on October 28th, 2023. And here we have Sun, Mercury, and Mars all in Scorpio in opposition to the Moon and Taurus. Now, Scorpio represents strong emotions and strong desires. And Mars is, it's a co-ruler of Scorpio. It's the ancient ruler of Scorpio. So it feels quite at home here. So this suggests that at this point, there are going to be some strong desires, strong urges for action among people. But Moon and Taurus is going to want to take things more slowly. Taurus likes stability. So there's a bit of a conflict between the strong desires and passions that people and countries will have at this point, and what they can actually do in the outer world. Things will probably have to move a little bit more slowly, a little bit more harmoniously than, say, Mars and Scorpio would like to. Now, we also have Pluto still technically squaring the lunar nodes, about 3 degrees of separation, but that again is a waning aspect. It's lessening in intensity, but still enough of it is there to create that sense of intensity or restlessness in the world. Okay, we also have Uranus sextile Neptune, and both still making semi-sextiles to Chiron. Well, actually, the semi-sextile from Neptune to Chiron, it's a little bit out of this orb I'm using of 7.5 degrees. Uh, but Uranus is still within orb, and I think Neptune semi-sextile Chiron, that's kind of be pulled in. Neptune is definitely making a semi-sextile to the north lunar node. And so I think all of these are going to kind of be brought into play, which means that uh, we're still working harmoniously with our creativity and our spirituality and compassion to try and solve some of the wounding represented by uh, Chiron and Aries. And let's see, Chiron is making somewhat of a semisect or say quincunx to uh, let's say Mars and Mercury up here. So, we're trying to make some adjustments with respect to the war, global warming, etc. still. Okay. Now we also have this Neptune, Uranus, Pluto triangle thing that is still going on. And so again, people behind the scenes still using their creativity, their spirituality and compassion, and their power to transform things to try and resolve some of the problems in the world right now. And we have Saturn, let's see, making a pretty good trine to the sun and a sextile to the moon. At the previous solar eclipse, 2 weeks later, we had Saturn making an opposition to Venus, but that is past now. And now we have some favorable aspects from Saturn to other planets. And so it's beginning a little easier to implement implement some of our dreams, turn them into concrete reality. The log jam that was experienced at the previous solar eclipse, rather, is now passing. So we've got challenges. We have some things working harmoniously. We have adjustments going on. Just the usual stuff. And that's kind of the tone for fall of 2023. Okay, we end this fall with the winter solstice. It has a more generic date, 12/22/2023, but in Scottsdale, Arizona. The solstice will take place on the 21st, December 21st of 2023. And let's see what we have going on here. Well, one of the big things is we have Pluto in Capricorn, square Moon, Jupiter, conjunction in Taurus. So that's right here. And let's see, that's going to create some clashing, some conflict. Uh, Pluto it's moving back toward Aquarius, but still in Capricorn, uh, which represents power in the hands of individuals, people like autocrats and dictators. The moon is the people, the public. Uh, Moon conjunct Jupiter, people want to expand things. They want to expand financial resources since this conjunction is occurring in Taurus. And we want things to grow. We want things to be stable and peaceful. Uh, but probably dictators, individuals with power will be still causing trouble at various levels by the end of the year. Pluto is still making a square to the lunar nodes, but it's pretty weak now. It's waning. That intensity is really weak at this point. Uh, let's see, we have a triangle this time. It looks like Chiron making a semisextile to Uranus. And uh, Uranus now, well, some of the planetary dynamics have changed. We no longer have that triangle involving Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, but this time it's going to be Chiron, Uranus, and Mars. Uranus is making a very strong quincunx to Mars, and it looks like Mars is making a trine to Chiron, and Mars is in Sagittarius, which represents the group mind, other countries, the global thoughts, the thoughts of the global community. So, the group mind wants to solve this problem of wounding that has been ongoing with Chiron. Uh, People are trying to come up with creative solutions for the world and for stability for the world and for stability of resources, financial stability. But it's not going entirely smoothly. Uh, the semisextile and the quincunx from Uranus says that adjustments will have to be made. How can we uh, resolve this or make things go more smoothly? Well, it's probably not by trying to go it alone, but by the community, uh, the other nations of the world working together. Global mind, global thoughts, global solutions. That is what is going to help at this point. Now, we also have something else going on that's very beneficial, a very strong triangle here created with Saturn, making a sextile to Sun and, I'm sorry, Moon and Jupiter. And these two planets making uh, a rather strong trine to, let's see, what do we have here? It looks like, yeah, the Sun and Mercury, both in Capricorn. Okay, so this is good. It's going to be a little easier at this time to bring the dreams of Pisces into concrete reality as Saturn wants. So, in spite of whatever adjustments have to be made at this point, uh, there are some things going on, and it's not just the higher drives involved, those drives that many people are not so conscious of. It's now the things people are directly aware of, the sun and the moon themselves and their persona, the way they interact with the world. We want to get uh, some dreams implemented, some concrete things done. And let me make a mention too, while we're at it, we have Venus in Scorpio in opposition to Uranus. So we will probably feel some unexpected things happening around the end of the year. But overall, I think the positives may outweigh the negatives. As we end the year, there are going to be problems with dictators and autocrats, but there's also some energy working harmoniously. And I think we'll hopefully maybe uh, be figuring out a way to end the war in Ukraine. I'm not going to say that's for certain, but I think the world, there are people in the world really working hard to try and find solutions to that problem. and some other problems. Okay, so just to wrap up and summarize a few things, we have several planets retrograde throughout the fall that are internalizing most planetary drives and creating a sense of inertia. None of the outer planets from Jupiter on are in Earth signs now. In 2024, Pluto will move into Aquarius and Jupiter will move into Gemini, and this will stimulate new ideas and creativity. A sextile between Neptune and Pisces and Uranus and Taurus, with each making a semi-sextile to Chiron and Aries, will prevail throughout much of fall 2023. Thus, compassion and economic creativity will work together to adjust to wounding from fiery situations such as war and global warming. Mars and Libra opposite Chiron and Aries and both near the lunar nodes may signal some conflict around the fall equinox. Uranus and Taurus trine Pluto in Capricorn with Neptune in Pisces, sextile each, will endure throughout much of the fall as compassion and economic creativity engage with authoritarian individuals. Okay, Pluto squaring the lunar nodes throughout much of the fall intensifies situations involving autocrats and dictators. And wounding and tensions with authoritarian figures may intensify around the October 14th solar eclipse with both Sun and Moon square Pluto and opposite Chiron. Saturn in Pisces, opposite Venus in Virgo during the October 14th solar eclipse, will curb the pursuit of pleasure for many as their dreams conflict with the details of reality. And Sun, Mercury, Mars, all conjunct in Scorpio opposite Moon in Taurus during the lunar eclipse on October 28th suggests opposition between strongly held desires and the pursuit of economic stability. Okay. However, Saturn trine Sun and sextile Moon during the October 28th lunar eclipse will help to control, misspelled word there, and stabilize things. By the winter solstice, things may stabilize even further as Saturn in Pisces makes strong sextiles to Sun and Mercury in Capricorn, and Moon and Jupiter in Taurus. Okay. And continual aspect to Chiron in Aries throughout the fall will keep wounding from wars and global warming and maybe other kinds of wounding on the front burner. All right, let me go back just a little bit. Look a couple of things again. At the winter solstice, we have Saturn making the sextiles to Sun and Moon, and Sun and Moon are going to be trine. So that completes that very harmonious triangle. And let's see, going back here to this, let's see, the solar eclipse on the 14th. Did I mention in particular that Sun and Moon, in addition to being in opposition to Chiron, they're also going to be squaring Pluto. Pluto's not rescoring Chiron, but squaring the nodes, and Chiron's kind of being dragged into it a bit. But yeah, there's going to be wounding here, in particular, probably from the individuals with power, including dictators and autocrats. So I probably didn't mention that earlier, but yes, that too is going to be in effect. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen here. And so that's going to be the astrology for fall of 2023 in a nutshell. Like I said, I take a bit of a minimalist approach. I don't cover everything that's going on, but I try and hit those things that are most important, those things that I see as the highlights. So, in my next video, I'll look at the astrology for America on 2023, for fall of 2023. I hope you enjoyed this one. and I hope you enjoy the next one. So at this point, I'll say goodbye, so long, and I hope to see you again. I hope all is well. So long.